All right, Shem, see you.
29th of December, Rabbi Furst, Parsha Hashavua, Vayechi.
Thank you, Lou. Very good. As Lou mentioned, it's Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Shiva Samanapsi here in Shlem here of Zoom. And we are learning Parsha Hashavua. We'll be looking at some psukim here. I'll direct you to psukim now. Mitzvah Shem, you'll be Chumash. Last Parsha is excuse me, Lou.
I said, good morning, Roy.
Oh, good morning, Lou. Good morning, Erev Abbas, Rabbi Furst, and Hanoch there.
Yes, Hanoch's here.
You, Hanoch.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, let's begin. We'll start here. Okay. Yeah. Parsha Nun, Pasuk Aleph. Yeah. Chapter 50, verse number 1.
Chapter 50. Verse 1. None. Shall I read?
Yeah, please go ahead, Errol, if you like.
Vayipol Yosef al Pnei Aviv, Vayevk Alav, Vayishak Lo. Okay, so Yosef fell on the face of his father, and he wept upon him, and he kissed him. There's no Rashi. Should I go on?
Yeah, please. Yeah, go on. Right.
Vayetzav Yosef es avdav es harofim lachanot es aviv vayachan tu harofim es Yisrael. Okay, so 2. Yosef commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. This is embalm like we know today to embalm somebody.
When it's done in the when they do it the way they did it then, I have no idea, and I'm not so sure.
But it's also according to Torah halacha, right?
As far as I know, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Vayachan 2, and the physicians embalmed Israel. So Rashi says, to embalm his father, the term lachanot refers to a matter involving blended spices. Okay, whatever that means.
Well, Rashi's explaining that the process of the embalming that they did was involving the spices. If you remember, when Joseph was sold to Mitzrayim, so the Midyanim, the Ishmaelim that were taking him down were carrying spices instead of what they usually carried was neft, right? So that was somewhat of a peace, a satisfaction, a comfort to Yosef that he didn't have to be involved with the bad smell of the petrol items that they usually carry to Mitzrayim. They were carrying spices instead. So the spices are very important in terms of the embalming process. Primarily, I think that it's first of all there's odors that are unpleasant, which are associated with the cadaver, and the spices are probably very important in preserving as well. So I think that's one of the primary reasons why Rashi is mentioning this over here.
Well, it's interesting that you picked this. I don't know what you had in mind, but this, I've always wondered about this. This doesn't really seem to make much sense to me that that Yosef would would do this to his father. It's usher. Why would he violate the Torah?
Well, okay, first of all, you have to realize that this is before the Torah was given, right? So that's number one. Number two, the prevailing custom you're talking about the prevailing custom in Egypt. This is what you did. So I'm not sure if they really had a choice. It could have been that the pressure to conform to the Egyptian customs might have been one of the reasons that Yosef decided to do this. And I don't know. He is criticized. There are those who have criticized Yosef for this, but I haven't looked into it sufficiently to be able to comment on it. But
It was also about what
yeah, sure. Yeah.
So when you say that it's before the Torah is given, but don't we learn that the Avos kept the Torah to the best of their ability?
Some things, yes, something that's a very complicated subject. It's not so simple. It's a Gemara. It's a Gemara. What the Gemara's intention is that's not so clear. There are definitely certain very blaring exceptions to that, and in general, you have to know what that means, both specifically and in general, because it's not so. To say that they kept the expression of the Gemara is all call it Torah. They kept all the Torah, which is in some aspects impossible.
Right.
You need a base of Migdash, you need Kohanim, you need Levim, you need Paraduma. There are a lot of different things which simply technically speaking are impossible. So you have to go into that subject with a lot of background in what the Rishonim explain what the intention of that Chazal is. But
Well, I always understood in my own mind that that it meant that to whatever extent possible, based on their situation, they kept the Torah 100%, but when there were strong reasons to deviate, like for example, Yaakov marrying two sisters, that they made exceptions, but that was the necessary path. It wasn't done lightly. So here we have a situation where I mean, unless what you're saying is that there's just so much peer pressure, that it became imperative. It's surprising to me that they would violate the Torah in this respect.
Well, first we have to realize that I don't know if there's a explicit command not to do this in the Torah. It's not that the command of burying. That's more or less is based on the limit that we make low solemn. You shouldn't leave the mace overnight without burial. So this is probably included in that.
Uh-huh.
So
That's interesting.
yeah, 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 yeah. Right. In any event, there's discussion about it. What is it? Can we can take maybe it's worthwhile if you want. We can take a side turn and discuss it maybe, but we'll see. In the meantime, we'll continue on, and perhaps that'll be worthwhile to discuss.
Okay. Vayim le'u lo arba'im yom ki kain im le'u yemei hachanutim vayiv ku oso mitzrayim shiv'im yom. Okay, so 40 days were completed.
40? 30. I've got 40 here.
40 arba'im.
Yes.
Right.
40 days were completed. Because in this way, they embalm. The embalming is completed. And Egypt cried for him for 70 days. So okay, so that's verse 3. Okay, so Rashi says 40 days were completed for him. This means they finished up for him the days of his embalming until 40 days were completed for him. So I want to read the footnote because I'm a little unclear. Is that okay?
Sure.
Rashi notes that the root malay is not used here in its most literal sense of to fill, but rather as to complete, to be completed. Furthermore, this does not mean that the 40 days merely elapsed. It indicates that the activity under discussion took place and was completed during those days. The root malay, as applied to time, means to arrive at the conclusion of a previously determined span of time. It is used here because 40 days was a fixed period of embalming, as the verse goes on to say. Okay, so the footnote didn't really help either. What I'm wondering about is it saying that they didn't bury him for 40 days? They kept him in the embalming process, in the mortuary, so to speak.
Apparently the process was a 40-day process. That's what it seems to be.
So they didn't bury him until after 40 days.
Apparently.
Okay. Okay, so that would seem to from my understanding of the death process, that would have caused distress to Yaakov's neshama.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why we bury right away, because we want the neshama to move on, right?
That's right, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
There's when the burial's complete, um, so that's a fulfillment of the statement that Kadosh Baruch Hu made to Adam Rishon, La'afar Tashu, you should return to dust, right? So that's a very significant milestone in the life of the neshama, right? That's a very big good rectification for the neshama when the goof is laid to rest into the alpha tashu. That is a very significant point, and it's in its process of serving Hashem.
right. Okay, so Rashi goes on, and Egypt bewailed him for 70 days, 40 days for embalming, and 30 days for bewailing. The Egyptians bewailed Yaakov's death because blessing came to them in his wake. For the famine ended when he arrived, and the waters of the Nile increased. Okay, so they were honoring him because the good things that happened 17 years earlier.
Well, it's the past 17 years. That was the time Yaakov Avinu was in Mitzrayim.
Right,
So
right,
that was had actually represented the end of the famine, and Pharaoh had received the blessing from Yaakov. The Nile rose when Pharaoh would approach it. Right? So that was very very important to Pharaoh and the Egyptian people.
right, right. Okay, weiter.
Yeah.
Vaya'av Ru Yemei v'chiso Vayidaber Yosef el Beis Paro lemor im na matzasi chen beinechem dabru na beaznai Pharaoh lemor. There's no Rashi on 4, so I'll keep reading.
Okay.
Avi hish bi ani lemor hine anochi meis bekir bekivri asher karisi li be'eretz Canaan shama tik bereni v'ata le na ve'ek bara es avi ve'ashuva. All right, so go back to 4. And his bewailing period passed. And Yosef spoke to Paro's household, saying, if you please, if I have found favor in your eyes, speak now in the ears of Paro, saying, my father adjured me, saying, behold, I am about to die. In my grave, which I have dug for myself in the land of Canaan, there you are to bury me. Now I will go up, if you please, and bury my father. Then I will return. Okay, so verse 5, Rashi says, which I have dug for myself. This is to be understood according to its simple meaning. The word karisi is like yikre in when a man will dig. And its midrashic interpretation also fits the wording, as is interpreted, it is interpreted as which I acquired. The Tana, Rabbi Akiva, said, when I went to the cities of the sea, i.e., when I traveled to cities abroad, they would call mechira selling by the term kira. And that word kira is related to karisi in our verse. Karisi, to acquire.
Right, that's right. That's the reference to the Marsa Machpelah. We'll see that soon, yes.
It has another midrashic interpretation that sees it as related to keri, which means a heap. For Jacob took all the silver and gold that he had brought from the house of Lavan and made a heap of it, and said to Esav, take this for your share in the cave of Machpelah. He said, take this so that you don't get buried in Machpelah.
Right, because the question here is that it's true that Esau sold the Bechor to Yaakov, but Esau was apparently owning the rights to his place in the Mars Machpelah. So there either was going to be the place for Esau, who apparently had the legal rights for it, and this is a account of what Yaakov did to buy that portion of Esau's portion in the Mars Machpelah.
Interesting. So Esau reneged on the deal.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, don't we have a story that when the funeral procession approached, Esau blocked them?
Yeah.
You can't bury him there, and it's my burial place.
That's right.
And then one of this guy who was deaf, I forget his name.
Ushbendam.
Ushbendalia.
Dan.
Ushbendan.
Yeah, the Hush was the son of Dan. Yeah. He was Yaakov Avinu's grandson.
So he went up and he smashed Esau in the head and knocked his head off, and the head went rolling into the cave.
Well, actually, probably the more accurate description is that he clubbed Esau in the head and knocked out his eyes, and then Yehuda actually finished it off and cut off the head of Esau, if I'm not mistaken. That's the way it's usually depicted.
And did the head end up in the cave?
Yes. If you go to Gemara today, there's a place that says the head of Esau.
You should know, however, obviously the eyes did not go there, and nor did the nose, the mouth, and the it's only from the eyebrows up, just the top of the skull was buried there.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I never heard those details.
Mm-hmm.
So according to that understanding, why did Yehuda throw that part of the head into the cave?
Well, actually, okay. Let me 1 second. If you want, I'll read it to you so you'll get the full description. 1 second. Information. Okay, so it says here. Says here. I'm reading from the Sefer Seder Adoris over here. Accurate description of the various different biographies and circumstances upon which the Avos and Amoraim Tamorim were showing also lived. So it says here in terms of the Levaya for Yaakov Avinu, okay, there. So Paro, when upon hearing upon giving permission, when Paro gave permission to Yosef to bring Yaakov Avinu to burial in the Marsha Makpela, the Tzava Paro va'avav Kol Mitzrayim, Paro gave a command that was passed throughout all of Mitzrayim. Kol asher einu ola es Yosef va'achiv artzi Canaan, likvos es Yaakov Yamos. Paro issued an order: anyone who will not accompany Yaakov and his brothers to Eretz Canaan for the burial of their father Yaakov shall die. Mata haisa mizahav Torah va'avnei show him the loss of his Geras Saviv. So the burial pyre that Yaakov was brought out from Mitzrayim and brought to Canaan, it was made of gold, pure gold, and there were jewels and around the edge of it. Umachasa Amita Masa Oreg Zahav. They covered it over with a embroidered gold embroidered cover. And then Yasim Yosef al Rosh Yaakov Ateres Zahav Gedoyla Visharvit Zahav Biyado. And Yosef placed on Yaakov a crown of gold and a gold scepter in his hand. Vehicle Kol Geburi Mitzrayim, and all those mighty ones of Mitzrayim went. Yosef Yaser Yeshiv Mitzrayim, and all the people who dwelled in Mitzrayim, Levushim Shirinyan, Ade Melchama, they all were wearing their battle garments. The Konanim, Holchim, and those lamenters went as well. Rachok, Neged, Amita, Holach, Bochel, with Koining, they would be crying, there was crying, and they were following the Mita, the coffin. Vayechi Am Holchim, the rest of the people went behind the Mita, behind Yosef Beso, Kor of the Mita, and Yosef and his family were around the Mita. Yafim, Bochim, they were barefoot and crying. Vayechi Avdi Yosef, Giburov, Saviv Ish, Edyo, Alav Chagurim, Kli, Molchamtam, and the servants of Yosef and his troops were surrounding him, each one armed with his I guess they had swords and such. Kamishim Abadav Holpim Lifnei Mita. There were 50 that passed in front of the Mita, and Mifazru, we called Derech more, and they would spread out along the roadway in front of them spices, olos, vechol, besam, and all types of different smelling things, flowers and such. V'nosei amita holking al bosim, and those who were carrying the coffin, they would go and walk on the spiced pathway in front of them. Yasu came, we call Yom, and they did this each and every day until they reached Eretz Canaan. So when they reached Eretz Canaan, Yishmo Kol Malchi Canaan, and all the kings of Canaan heard about this, the Shloshim ve'echad malachim, 31 kings. V'yavu im kol enoshim, they came with all their people, lispoid, to lament and to have dirges. Livchos as Yaakov, to cry for Yaakov. We assume kisrehem alamita, and they placed all their crowns on the mita of Yaakov. Also mispit gadol, and they made a great eulogy there. Ki yadu gevuros Yaakov ubanav, because they knew the great might and glory and nobility of Yaakov and his sons. V'yishma Esav, Har Seir, and Esav also heard from Har Seir. Asher Yeshev Sham, that's where Esav was living, in Har Seir. V'yavu im banav, and Esav came along with his sons. Va'anashav, and his people. Amrav Moed, with a lot of people. V'yaspudu es Yaakov echav, and Esav gave a hesped. Esav also gave a hesped for Yaakov, his brother. V'yikumu od kol Mitzrayim, and the rest of all of Mitzrayim came to Canaan, and then Canaan came Yispadu, Mispad Gadol, and they made great eulogies for Yaakov Avinu along with Esav, Im Yaakov, and they all came to that place, making great hespedim for Yaakov Avinu. So after the hespedim ended, V'yikach Yosef ve'echav, so now Yosef and his brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Asher, Gad, Naphtali, all the brothers, they took Yaakov b'mkomahu, they took him from that place. V'yivu kiras arba alamara, the glorious Yaakov, and they brought him to the cave, kiras arba, in order to bury Yaakov. V'amed Esav ubanav v'anashim l'saton. And now Esav stood in the way along with his sons and his people in order to protest. La'omer, to say, Lo yikbar ba kilano la'avinu. No, you're not going to bury Yaakov here. This belongs to us and to our fathers. V'yichar af Yosef ve'echav, and now Yosef became infuriated, and his brothers became infuriated as well. V'yomer, and they say, Hello, Kana also Yaakov Aviv Mimcha. This has been bought by Yaakov Avinu, our father, from you. V'oisher with a lot of money he bought this. Achamos Ya Yitzhak, after Yitzhak died. He Shanim Gam Kol Eretz Canaan Kana Meitcha. And also, all these 25 years, all of Eretz Canaan has been bought from you. So Yaakov had bought the Parsha Makpela and all of Eretz Canaan from Esav. V'an Esav sheker because of Tidaber. Esav screamed out, this is deceit and falsehood that you're saying. Ki lo mecharti, I didn't sell this. Lo kana Yaakov achi. Memeni, and Yaakov, my brother, didn't buy this from me. Eretz Azos, this land, Muma at all, never. Laman Nahachi says Yosef, and he just said this in order to contradict Yosef. He of the Esav, Shalo Haya Yosef Memechiras Esav, as called a share lo be'aretz Canaan Yaakov, because he said this specifically to Yosef, because Yosef, he knew, Esav knew that Yosef was not there when Yaakov Avinu bought from Esav the Parsha Makpela and all of Eretz Canaan, because Yosef was there in Mitzrayim. They were going down to Mitzrayim when Yaakov Avinu when Esav sold Eretz Canaan and the Parsha Makpela to Yaakov Avinu, they were going down to Mitzrayim to see Yosef. Yosef was there in Mitzrayim, so Esav knew that Yosef was not in the deal that was made. He wasn't there. He didn't witness it. So therefore, Esav directed his false claims to Yosef, because Yosef couldn't directly contradict him. So what does Yosef respond to Esav's false claims? Yom Yosef, hello, Sefer Makna b'Mitzrayim. We have a star, right? We have a document of sale, and it's there in Mitzrayim. So Esav said, well, go and bring it to me. Let me see. You say you have a deed of sale in Mitzrayim, bring it to me. Mikra Yosef Naftali Achi. So Yosef called out to Naphtali, his brother, V'yomer, Mahera, go fast. Chosha Eretz Mitzrayim, go down to Mitzrayim, Reviya Sefer Makta, and go bring the deed of sale. Mitzrayim Rishonim, Sheh Kasav Sham, Dibri HaBechora, and also, and even the earlier documents about the sale of the Bechora. Yomer Naftali Yoratz, and Naftali went and ran very quickly. Who called Biraglim is very fast, Ma'od, very, very fast. They call it Savoim. He was the fastest of all the people there. We are Esav ki Ratz Naftali. So Esav saw that Naftali was running down to Mitzrayim to get the deed. But Yosef lahastin al Amara, and Yosef was there guarding the cave. V'kam l'milchama, and Esav now, he saw what was happening on. He came to do battle. He started a battle. It says here that Sappho ben Eliphaz, Sappho was the grandson of, it was the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esav. I mean, Esav's grandson Sappho started the milchama with Yosef and his brothers. V'olos l'kover Yaakov, v'yalachem imo kol bnei Yaakov in Mitzrayim, and then therefore everyone, all the bnei Yaakov, all those children of Yaakov and all the Egyptians, nikfu bnei Esav, they engaged the Bnei Esav in battle, v'hargu mehem arba'im ish, and they killed out from the family of Esav 40 men. V'chushim ben Dan haya rachok mimakom l'molchama, and Chushim ben Dan was far from the actual place of battle. Kama Amma, he was there several Ammas, maybe like a football field away from the actual place of battle. He yoshiv im yoldi Yaakov, the Shmor Mitas Yaakov. He was there with the young children of Yaakov, and he was there with the rest of the children, the young children of Yaakov, guarding the Mita of Yaakov, guarding the coffin of Yaakov while the battle was ensuing. V'chushim haya ilem medaber v'chosh l'shmoya, and Chushim, he was deaf and dumb. He couldn't talk and he couldn't hear. Ach Hamevin as kol ha'adam uma, but yet he understood. He could hear enough. He could understand a sound of a person who is in distress. V'yishal nedua lo kivasam es mace. He said to them, "Why are we burying the mace? Umahi hamuuma, and what's all this excitement? What's all this excitement going on here?" V'yanu, and they said to him, as Esav, they told him what Esav said, that he's not going to be allowed to be buried here. Asher Manu Lemigvor es Yaakov, the Esav was preventing the burial of Yaakov. So Cush ben Dan, when he understood this, ruts. Tocha Mocham, he ran into the heat of the battle. V'yach es Esav becherev, and he he hit him with a cherub, a sword. V'yikros roishoy, cut his head. Mimeno v'yelech l'mrochok v'yipol Esav betoch anshi ha'mocham, and Esav fell dead amongst the others in the battle. V'yigbaru b'nei Yaakov, and the Yigbaru b'nei Yaakov, that the sons of Yaakov were victorious. V'yikbaru Yaakov b'chazak, and they buried Yaakov there with force in the Mara b'kavod gadol. V'yasu evil shivis yamim, and they said Avelis there therefore for 7 days. Oh, b'nei Esav raw as Esav b'kiras Yaakov, and they saw the sons of Esav what happened there when they were burying Yaakov. Okay, that's some. That's that. Oh, now, the Isa. Now, you take a look there in the Gemara. He brings down here. You take a look at the Gemara in Gittin. How you see Yehuda Hago. It's brought down there in the Gemara that Yehuda killed him. Meshemelo Meis Mu'ahako es Ad Sha'omid Alav Yehuda V'Hargo Ad Kanasam, and therefore, what Shalmi says that it's the blow that Esav received first from Cush ben Dan was not enough to kill him. right? And then Asa was finally killed, absolutely, with the final blow of Yehuda that he gave to Asa. Umashma the Yehuda hargu b'kivrus Yaakov. Akene Yushami lo omer shahargu b'kivrus Yaakov. Will I similarly Yerushalmi tamish because of the medrash Yalkut Yosef? There's a medrash, right? Yehuda hargu b'kivrus Yitzchak. There's another that there are those that say Bichlal that Yehuda killed Esav during the burial of Yitzchak. That would be problematic. Um, right. So that's basically this one account. So you have to realize the two accounts of what happened. Cush Pendan gave Esav the first blow. It was most likely not a death blow, and then Yehuda finished off the job by cutting off the head completely. And then, as it also is explained, that Esav's head, some say it rolled, some say it fell into the lap of Yaakov. A few different accounts of what happened with the head when it finally was taken off his body. Okay. Yeah, so that's what it says here about that.
Well, thank you, Rabbi. That was very interesting.
Okay. Yeah, that's based on Midrashim and the more Yerushalmi. Yeah. And actually, to tell you that this is actually um, it, it's not the end of the story. As a matter of fact, it actually continues on because it says that means obviously you can understand that the people of Asa were not very happy about this situation, that their leader Asa had just been killed, right? And they're not the most friendly type of people to begin with, so they were most interested in taking revenge. But there was something else that occurred here as well. It says, so after this, then the Bnei Esav made war with the Bnei Yaakov, and it was a very fierce battle. Right? And Bnei Yaakov lo meisechad. And in the heat of the battle, Esav lost 80 men, and Bnei Yaakov lost none. There were no casualties from Bnei Yaakov. Yosef Yalchu as Safo ben Eliphaz ben Esav, and Yosef, who was, again, you have to realize Yosef was the leader there. The power was the king in Egypt. Power didn't go. Yosef was the leader at that point. So Yosef continued the response to battle, and he captured Safo ben Eliphaz ben Esav. So they captured the son of Eliphaz, who was the grandson of Esav, and Chamishim Ba'anshav, and they took also captive 50 of their people as well. Also, they put them in chains. And they brought them down in captivity into Mitzrayim. They brought them captured them and brought them to Mitzrayim. Yiru kol anshe base Esav yichu givas Esav yiru narsevik yiroso. So the rest of the people of Esav saw what happened, that the grandson of Esav was now taken captive, and 50 of his men were also taken captive, and they were taken captive and brought down to Mitzrayim. And so therefore they withdrew from the battle. They collected the remains of Esav, and they went into Har Seir and buried Esav there in Har Seir. Right? but the head of Esau was not buried there. Ki nikbor b'makom ha'mokama b'Chevron, because it was there buried in the place of the battle that took place in Hebron. That was the battle of Hebron. Anyone asked you, that was the battle of Hebron.
So there it says the whole head was buried in the cave.
It says Rosh. It doesn't go into details how much of the Rosh.
Right. You quoted Gittin before when it was talking about Yehuda. Do you know where in Gittin that was?
There's the Tosfos there in Gittin discusses it. I can tell you if you want to look it up. 1 minute. 1 second. Sorry for it. 1 second. 1 second. Mm. Yeah, if you want, take a look. There's a Tosfos. The Tosfos in Gittin Daf Nun Hey Amid Base. Tosfos Daf Nun Hey Amid Base. Tosfos Divra Maskel Behuda Behorge Milchama.
The Yehuda.
Behorge Milchama.
The Hargame Milchama. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm interested in this because I have a theory. I'd be curious if you think it's crazy or not. That Esav had a good aspect to him in that he kept the mitzvah of kavod av, and I'm just wondering if there's a symbolism here that his head goes into Machpelah because because of his intellectual dedication to Torah. His body is not appropriate because his body, you know, his emotions, his body was evil.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Oh, so this, excuse me, this is what I was telling you. I mentioned previously that they had my one of my rebbeim, Rav Shmuel Shechter, Zechron Baruch, heard from Rabbi Yerucham, the Mishkich of Mir, that when we say that the Rosh of Esav is in the Mars Makpela, it's only from the eyebrows up, right? For this very reason, because it's not possible that, first of all, the eyes, you'll take a look there at in the Tosas, he mentions about the eyes popping out, the eyes were popped out. It's not possible that the ears that heard all the things, the Lashon Hara, and the mouth that ate all the things which were bad, and the nose which smelled all the bad things. It's not possible that these pieces of Esau's body could be entering into the Mars Makpela. So only from the head upwards, which was the intellectual aspect of Esau, that was the only part of it that was able to be admitted into the Mars Makpela.
Very interesting. Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's a little bit of the background about what happened there, and maybe we'll discuss. This is a very central. These medrashim and Chazal are very central to understanding the situation of Klal Yisrael in Mitzrayim, because now we're leaving off in the middle of this, that Eliphaz was taken captive into Mitzrayim. So Esav's people didn't take that lying down. They were determined to get their now heir. I guess I imagine Eliphaz was still alive. He would now be the heir to the throne of Esav, but Eliphaz's son would now be the prince, and so they were determined to regain their captive prince, who's now captive in Mitzrayim. So they were determined to get him back. So that resulted in a series of wars, which lasted well over 100 years, as is described in the Sfarim. And that also led to some of the things which we'll discuss. I think we'll discuss. It'll be important to mention next week when we discuss how the Shibud of Mitzrayim was what came about. We mentioned it before, previous years, but it's worthwhile going over and understanding it in a little bit more deeply. But suffice it to say, for today, we see there the demise of Esau, and that should be a simon tov for us as well. That we should see the demise of Esau in our time as well, with the Binyan Beis Hamikdash and Knis Hamesim, Klal Yisrael returning to Eretz Israel, and in the meantime, everyone should have a very good, wonderful Shabbos mitzvah.
Yes.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lou. Thank you, Roy.
Did you know it was
And we'll see you all next week. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Okay. Take care.
We won't thank you too.
Yeah.
Is it off this week?
What?
Is it off this week for the